My name is Jordan Marks. I'm 28, originally from Spokane, Washington. I've always been into nature, hikes, and road trips, the kind of escapes people take when life gets a little too loud. In early May, 5 of us, me, Logan, Tessa, Eli, and Brooke, decided to take a weekend camping trip in northern Idaho, near the Canadian border. It was supposed to be a memory-making adventure before we all got too busy with jobs, marriages, or moving away. We packed light, took Logan's old 4Runner, and hit the road on a Friday afternoon. The sun was already low when we crossed into Boundary County. We had just passed a small gas station, the kind with faded signage and an old man inside who didn't say much, when Logan took a detour. "I saw this shortcut online," he said. "Shaves an hour off the trip." The road was unpaved, narrow, and climbed steadily into dense pine forest. No signs, no mile markers, but Logan swore it was right. An hour later, the fuel light came on. I remember clearly. Brooke was taking selfies, Eli was dozing off, and I had this weird sinking feeling. Logan swore we had enough gas to get back to the highway, but he kept going. Then the car sputtered and died. We all laughed at first, assuming it was a joke. But it wasn't. There was no signal, and the forest around us had gone deadly, silent. Even the wind had stopped. Logan got out first, annoyed. "I'll walk back to that gas station. It wasn't more than 10 miles. Tessa grabbed a flashlight. "I'll go too. Can't let you wander off alone like an idiot." They took the main road behind us. We watched their flashlight beams shrink into the dark until they were gone. That was the last time we saw them. An hour passed, then 2, then 4. No word from Logan or Tessa. It was midnight when we started hearing noises, not animal sounds, not wind, but footsteps circling the trees just out of sight. At one point, Brooke whispered, "Did anyone else hear someone say, 'Stay out,' just now?" I did. So did Eli. We didn't sleep that night. We huddled in the back of the car, locked the doors, flashlights on. By morning, we had to make a decision. Eli, practical as ever, said he'd take the other direction down the road to search for a ranger station or anyone with a radio. He left around 6 a.m. By 3 p.m., he hadn't returned. Brooke wanted to follow him. I told her we needed to stay together, that splitting up again would be stupid. She snapped, said I didn't care about finding them. Then she left, said she'd follow Eli's path and bring help. I watched her walk until the trees swallowed her up. Now I was alone. I stayed in that car for 36 hours. No food, 1 bottle of water. I never saw another soul. But I heard them. Footsteps at night. The whisper again, only louder. Shouldn't have come. Shouldn't have left. On the 3rd morning, I heard an engine. A truck. I ran into the road like a madman, waving both arms. A park ranger stopped. His name was Miles. He looked confused. "You boys camping out here?" I told him everything. He brought me into town. I spent the night in a tiny ranger station, shaking, dehydrated, barely able to talk. They sent a search crew the next morning. What they found: Logan's jacket, zipped and folded on a mossy rock. Tessa's backpack, perfectly placed. Beneath a tree, contents untouched. Eli's phone, screen shattered, found in the middle of the road with not a drop of blood. Brooke's scarf, tied neatly around a tree branch. That same branch had something etched into it. A word, hollowed. No bodies, no blood, no signs of struggle, nothing. They searched for 5 days, then they stopped. The official report says my friends likely became lost and succumbed to the elements. But it wasn't exposure, it wasn't wolves, or bears, or freezing rain. It was something that watches the road, something that waits for those who run out of gas and dare to walk into its woods. And sometimes I wonder, what if I had gone first? What if I had never waited? Maybe the only reason I'm still alive is because I stayed put. But every night since then, I wake up at 3:33 a.m. to the sound of footsteps circling my house. And last night, there was a folded jacket on my porch. Logan's. My name is Troy Lanning. I'm 29, truck driver, long hauls, mostly Midwest routes, Kansas to Utah, Colorado to Nebraska. The highway's my home more than any apartment I've ever rented. I'm not someone who gets scared easy. I've driven through dust storms, ice slicks, even a tornado once, but nothing rattled me like what happened last February. I've debated sharing this story online. People already look at me like I'm crazy. It was late, February 18th. I was hauling a freezer unit from Denver to Omaha, cutting through the Nebraskan plains on I-80. Flatland, dead silence. Just me, the road, and static on the CB radio. That stretch between North Platte and Kearney always creeped me out. No exits for miles, just frozen grass, old barns that look abandoned, and signs eaten by rust. Around 2:47 a.m., I noticed my gas gauge. It was dropping fast, but I'd fueled up earlier that evening. No leaks, no engine lights, just dropping like someone was draining my tank. By 2:53, I hit empty. I coasted onto the shoulder near mile marker 313. No phone signal, no radio. I was surrounded by an endless cornfield, dead from winter, stretching out in every direction like a graveyard. I waited in the cab for 30 minutes, headlights off, watching for a car, a truck, anything. Then I saw it, a figure, way out in the field, pale, walking toward the road. I flashed my brights. It froze, and then it started running. I locked the doors, but when it reached the edge of the road, it vanished, like it folded into the air. 5 minutes later, I heard something climb onto the roof of my truck. I didn't move, barely breathed. Whatever was above me was heavy. I could hear claws scraping the metal, like an animal trying to dig through. I shut the engine off completely, killed all light, sat in pitch darkness. Then I saw movement in my side mirror, not on the ground in the mirror itself. My reflection was no longer mimicking me. It was staring, unblinking, mouth slowly stretching wider than humanly possible. I reached up to cover the mirror with my hand, and in the reflection, something moved behind me. I turned. Nothing. But then, a knock. 3 sharp knocks on the back of the truck trailer. I got out. I don't know why. Stupid instinct. Maybe I thought someone needed help. I walked to the back and unlatched the freezer door. Inside, under the icy lights, stood a man, or what used to be one. His skin looked waterlogged. His face was sagging like it had melted. No neck, just head to shoulders, fused. His mouth opened wide and wheezing like a busted pipe. He raised one hand and pointed to my cab. I ran. I slammed the freezer shut and locked it from the outside, climbed back in, breath fogging the windshield. The man was now gone. But there was something new waiting for me. On the passenger seat sat my license, which had been in my wallet, and written across it in smeared black ink, "You brought it back." As soon as the sun started creeping over the horizon, I walked until I found an old diner near a broken-down service station. No cars in the lot, no sound, just the faint hum of an overhead light. Inside, a woman stood behind the counter, early 60s, pale eyes, asked if I needed gas. I nodded, too shaken to speak. She said, "You're not the first to stall out by 3:13. Then poured me coffee I didn't ask for. I asked her what she meant. She told me about the town. Rothbend used to sit just off that stretch years ago. Farming community, small, quiet, until 1983, when every resident disappeared overnight. Only thing left was a burning field and a single parked truck. Engine cold, but gas tank full. No one ever found out what happened. They say the town still walks, she whispered. Not the people, the town. Moves at night, swallows anything with an engine. I asked her if she was joking. She didn't answer. When I turned back to the counter, she was gone, and my coffee mug, filled with black sludge, bubbling slowly, ran outside. The entire diner was gone. Just dust. Empty field. No tire tracks. No footprints. When I finally flagged down a tow truck, the driver looked at me like he'd seen a ghost, said I was the 5th person this year to be found walking out from near that mile marker, rambling about the man with no neck and a town that isn't there. I haven't driven through Nebraska since, and every time I pass a gas station, I check the mirrors just to be sure my reflection still matches. My name is Dana Wu, 34, paramedic for 10 years. I've seen things most people couldn't stomach. Broken bodies, screaming mothers, people losing everything in seconds. But I stayed sharp, logical. That's how I survived. I never believed in the supernatural, never had time for ghost stories or haunted house nonsense. But that changed last March, when my ambulance ran out of gas on a deserted service road outside of Gerety Ridge, Colorado. A place that shouldn't exist anymore. It was supposed to be a straight run, no patient, just transport. I was driving back alone from a rural ER call, listening to static and sipping warm coffee from a paper cup. GPS rerouted me, said the highway was closed due to a landslide. Fine. I followed the detour signs, which led me down an old stretch of road I'd never seen before. Cracked asphalt, flanked by pine trees too tall to see past. No name on the signs. Just a rusted metal post with flaking paint. Local access only, no through road. My fuel gauge was normal, a full tank. I'd filled up that morning myself. Then, without warning, the engine stuttered. Dashboard blinked. Fuel gauge dropped like a rock. I hit the brakes, rolled to a stop in front of an old wooden sign half swallowed by moss. It said, "Welcome back to Gerety Ridge." Only problem. Gerety Ridge was destroyed in a wildfire 6 years ago. Everyone had died. It had made national news. I stepped out of the ambulance to check the engine. Everything looked fine, but when I looked back at the road, it was gone. Just trees. Endless trees. Like I'd never driven here at all. I got back in the cab. Locked the doors, turned the ignition. Nothing. Silence. Then the radio crackled to life, but not with voices, with breathing. Shallow, rhythmic, like someone on the other end was waiting for me to speak. My name came through next, spoken in my own voice, a recording of something I never said. Dana Wu, you're not where you think you are. I turned it off. Fog rolled in from the trees, thick and heavy. I couldn't see past the windshield. Then, the siren started. It wasn't from my ambulance. It was low, pulsing, almost like it was mimicking an ambulance tone, but off. Slower, distorted. I stepped out, grabbing the flashlight from the glove box. The trees were gone. In their place stood empty streets, faded storefronts, abandoned homes with broken windows, and blackened siding. I was standing in what looked like a ghost town version of Gerety Ridge. No fire damage, just stillness, and lights flickering in a hospital building at the end of the street. The siren was coming from there. I walked toward it. Every step felt wrong, like the ground was breathing beneath me. At one point, I looked down and saw my own footprints disappear as I moved forward. When I reached the hospital doors, They slid open on their own. Inside, it was cold. Operating tables rusted, wheelchairs overturned, and on the wall, in red marker. We never left. I tried the hospital phones. Dead. Found the ER ward, but it wasn't empty. Someone was laying on a gurney under surgical lights, breathing, alive. I approached slowly, hand on my pocket knife. The person sat up, and it was me. Same face, same medic jacket, but her eyes were sewn shut with black thread. She tilted her head and said, in my voice, "You brought the gas." The lights burst, darkness. When they came back on, she was gone. And written on the gurney sheet was, "You're the fuel now." I ran. The town shifted behind me. Streets stretched. Doors slammed on their own. Figures moved through windows. Pale, twisted versions of people in uniforms. Children, old women. They weren't alive, but they were still here. When I finally reached my ambulance, I saw the gauge again. Fuel. Full. But the key was missing. I looked in the mirror. In the passenger seat sat the sewn-eye version of me, grinning with thread-stretched lips. She whispered, "You can't leave until someone replaces you." I kicked open the door and ran until the road returned, until headlights found me. A passing trucker picked me up. When I looked back, the road to Geraghty Ridge was gone. But sometimes, when I'm parked near forested roads, my ambulance radio turns on, and I hear my voice from somewhere deeper saying, "You'll be back when you run out again."